for a number.
Hey, what's happening? Barnaby here. Are you gluten intolerant? You might think you are, because here's an interesting fact, and that is that 25% of people want gluten-free products, and yet only a fraction of them may be gluten intolerant. What a weird scenario. Let's talk more about it in this Hello Life moment with registered dietitian Jessica Butcher. So, best guess, how many people in America are truly gluten intolerant?
Well, the experts out there think that maybe only 1% of Americans actually are gluten intolerant or maybe have celiac disease. So that's certainly a shocking difference from that 25% of Americans who are out there buying all of these gluten-free products.
Okay, celiac disease. Give me a brief definition of that. What is it?
All right, now we did talk about this in a little bit more detail in a previous segment, but the difference between gluten intolerance and celiac disease is gluten intolerance is, you can compare that a little bit more with lactose intolerance, whereas celiac disease is the highest, most extreme form of that glucose intolerance. So that's where it's more of an autoimmune system. So it's not just a gastrointestinal, stomach issues. It's not at all just that. It's your entire body reacting.
Wow. And so how do you get it diagnosed? I mean, you'd have to start with the queasiness that comes with ingestion of gluten products, but where does it go from there?
There's lots of symptoms that you may notice, but then once you actually do take this to your doctor and go to see your physician for a true diagnosis, they'll do a couple of blood tests, and then if those come back positive, then you'd have to go in for a biopsy of your small intestine, and that's how they truly would know if you actually do have gluten intolerance or celiac disease. But the thing is, if you're already following a gluten-free diet, then you won't be diagnosed. You need to make sure that you are eating those products, even though that doesn't really make much sense when you're truly thinking about it, but your body needs to be eating those foods that are damaging it to actually have the symptoms so your doctor can diagnose you.
Oh yeah, well, that's how allergy tests go. Predominantly, they give you a little bit of a prick here and there, put the offending substance into your body and see what happens. Speaking of offending substances, look at the bread aisle. There are so many bread choices, and come breakfast time, Jess, I mean, I am always going for a couple slices of toast. That, if you are gluten intolerant, is not acceptable.
You certainly don't want a bread that's made from wheat, rye, or barley. Those are certainly not good choices for you, but they do make a lot of gluten-free varieties, and they're getting so much better with the textures, because it certainly is a little bit different. They're often a little bit more dense because they don't have that gluten in there. But when they're using a nice blend of maybe potato and rice flours in there, then the texture becomes a little bit more familiar with what we're used to for breakfast.
Have you ever tasted gluten-free?
I have tasted a lot of different gluten-free products.
How does it taste?
Like I said, the texture is the biggest thing I think that throws you off, that the bread products in particular are a little bit more dense, and especially when they do get they pull out the gluten, then they end up getting a lot more of the fat in there to try to balance out that texture in there. But there's certainly so many other options, so you don't need to worry about just wheat breads alone. I mean, that's only one thing being pulled out of your meal. There's lots of other options, and there's plenty of other grains out there that are gluten-free. The only three you need to watch out for are wheat, rye, and barley.
Can I have oatmeal?
Oatmeal is a great option, but you want to be careful because oats are typically processed in a place with wheats where wheats are processed too. So you really need to make sure that the oatmeal that you're picking out is really marketed as gluten-free.
I'll tell you what, it is a growing segment of the offerings in the food aisles, the gluten-free stuff, because so many people are demanding it. Whether it's necessary or not is a whole other issue. Do you have any parting thoughts for us as regards to gluten-free come breakfast time?
Well, at breakfast, we're only taking away a couple of these grains in here. There's so many other grains that are gluten-free. We have quinoa, we have amaranth, we have spelt, we have lots of other choices out there. And we still have all the fruits are acceptable for us, all of our yogurt products. There's lots of other acceptable items and gluten-free versions of all of your cereals and breads. Alrighty, thanks so much for the information. Just another Hello Life moment, because we're all about matching your commitment to a healthy lifestyle. Check back often. HelloLife.net.